I guess this means I've lived to play another inning. La 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 la. They tried to slap that look right off my face, but I'm still grinning. And the money ain't run out yet, so I do believe I'm winning. For all the mess I was, am and will be continuing. And the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Saturday night. Today is a little bit different. We are recapping on this Monday afternoon instead. My name's Jonathan Dell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Tell the people a little bit about myself. I am one half of a YouTube channel that is now monetized. We got to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, everybody. So we're getting a few pennies crawling in here. And to celebrate, we were going to do some Ric Flair wooski, but we could not find this fabulous product anywhere. So I don't know about you. I went out and got myself some Fireball because that's got to be pretty similar to wooski, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do a whole bottle, so I got the kid size.
Yeah.
I got the kid size Fireball, the kind you give out to trick-or-treaters on Halloween. Not that I am around for Halloween, but you leave the bucket out, you put these in there, you write the sign, 1 Fireball per child. And most of the kids are trustworthy about it. So yeah, I've got a little Fireball here. Why not for celebrating that we are monetized here? I am not going to down this whole thing because, we've got a podcast to do. But
right.
a little bit of cheers here, I think, is in order. What do you got, my friend, as we are actually burying the lead for the first time ever?
Yes, we don't ever bury the lead.
Except now.
And the lead is us being monetized.
There
on
you go.
YouTube.
That's the
lead. That is the lead. I got the biggest coffee imaginable from Wawa, as it's something we've joked about in the past where the coffees are so ridiculous. And I popped a little bit of the bubbly in here. So
okay, there you go. Is it a coffee bubbly, like say an Irish coffee in there, or is it just a
little bit of an Irish coffee? So I'm sure you've had a school teacher that would have their coffee and would be slurring around a little bit. I'm doing that today.
All right. This is very good to sip, by the way, and I do mean sip.
Right. Fireball's pretty tasty.
Cinnamon whiskey, yes, it is, and I figured this is probably the high class stuff that we would be having anyway if we found some whiskey.
I'll be honest with you. The target market for people that want to drink Fireball probably is the people that would drink the whiskey as well.
There you go.
Unfortunately, Rick, he's kind of taking his sweet time releasing it. I think when we did the short video about the whiskey, they actually left in the default text in the tweet. So they didn't even really have text for the whiskey. They didn't have text for the advertisement, let alone the whole thing ready. So
that may be due for a re-release.
Yeah. I think he just did a coming soon, and it's just that date will continue to be pushed. So we are monetized on YouTube. Thank you very much for everyone that has subscribed, and also the people that have watched, because we are over 4,000 watch hours, which is really one of the more challenging things with the YouTube monetization.
Yes.
We did it probably the dumbest way imaginable to get monetization, where we would only go live, and those videos just got such little views when we first started, and we did that for the first couple months. And then we started to kind of pick up the momentum once we started to create the shorter clips, get a little better at the thumbnails, start to play a little bit of the YouTube games where this topic's trending. We start, doing that. So we got there though. And it was and a half years, but we're finally at the top of the mountain. And Dom, thank you for tagging along in this journey with me.
It's been a great deal of fun. And you know what? We started this because we wanted to get back to watching wrestling and talking about the shows that we were watching. So without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from WWE SmackDown for Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025?
Dom, we don't usually bury the lead, except for tonight because it was a special night. But we'll jump into the show here. We're still talking SmackDown, and we're talking about the main event here. We have a triple threat, and the winner of this triple threat goes to Elimination Chamber. It's Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, and Braun Strowman. Damian Priest pulls it off after a lot of bloodline theatrical stuff here at the end. But Damian Priest picks up the win with some help from Cody Rhodes. And yeah, a pretty good triple threat match, big hoss match at the end of SmackDown here. Tom, what'd you think of the main event of SmackDown?
I enjoyed this more than I thought I would, because when they started, it looked like it was just going to be a mess. You know, Braun Strowman is this big lumbering guy. Jacob Fatu is really an overgrown luchador. And Damian Priest is probably more of the modern wrestler kind of guy where, you know, he does the strikes, he does some of the power moves. He kind of has a little bit of everything that he does. And I was wondering how they would be able to work together. It was not a disaster. There was a fun finish. So not a bad match. And like you were saying, Elimination Chamber qualifier. How about the finish of Damian Priest going on to Elimination Chamber here? Were you surprised by that call? I mean, I figured maybe Braun Strowman wasn't going to get it, but like, how are they going to go about keeping Jacob Fatu out of Elimination Chamber? And did that payoff work for you? There's some turmoil in Bloodline 2.0 at this point. Solo versus Jacob Fatu. What say you about all of the extra things they threw in here in the last 5 minutes?
I figured Braun Strowman was taking the L between Damian Priest and Jacob Fatu. I don't think they'd want to have Damian Priest lose again. I think they kind of like him at the top of the card where he's been for the last year or so. And I think that, you know, they had to find a way to kind of keep. I thought, you know, if Fatu goes into Elimination Chamber, then he's going to have to get beat there because he hasn't lost yet. So maybe they're going to hang on to him losing. But yeah, so I think Damian Priest makes sense. And the way that they did it all with, I like the way that they basically did two things. One, they let Damian Priest get the win. And of course, it's through hook or crook with Cody Rhodes interfering on the Bloodline's actions. And then in addition to that, we build some internal turmoil with the Bloodline, which is really what is I would say the foundation of the Bloodline, is that they're really big dominant team and they're all selfish and seem to kind of go after each other. So, you know, you see Solo at the top, and now you can see like, oh, maybe Fatu wants to be the tribal chief of this Bloodline 2.0.
Yeah, let's do a callback to the beginning of the show where Cody Rhodes was in the ring and was interrupted by, let's see, it was first Drew McIntyre, but then Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. So Drew leaves. Solo Sikoa appeared on the screen arriving at the arena, and both Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu motioned that they had some business to take care of with Solo. And Jacob says, no, I'm the first one that has a word with Solo tonight. Later on, when they do find Solo Sikoa, it's a little tense. Like Solo's trying to make amends for not only losing the Ula Fala to Roman Reigns at the first Raw of the new year, but also for kind of walking out on everybody a few weeks ago. And it looks like, you know, Solo's trying to earn the trust back of Jacob Fatu and of Tama Tonga. So, excuse me, when we get to this this Elimination Chamber qualifier here. Things really get interesting after Braun Strowman puts a chair around Jacob Fatu's neck in the corner, which Jacob Fatu had tried to do to Braun Strowman earlier. And Braun Strowman backs up like he's going to do the charging hip check and yells, "Eye for an eye." But that's when Solo Sikoa, dressed all in black, sneaks up on Braun Strowman from the apron there. Samoan spikes him. Jacob Fatu recovers, hits a top turn moonsault, but he can't make the cover for the pinfall. That's when Cody Rhodes' music hits, and now we've got everybody that was scrumming around except for Drew McIntyre at the beginning of the show. Cody Rhodes runs down to neutralize Solo. Here comes Tama Tonga to save Solo from Cody's beatdown. It's a 2-on-1. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Tama Tonga is holding Cody Rhodes as Solo charges for the spike. Cody ducks and Solo spikes Tama. This is when Jacob Fatu suddenly comes to his senses and sees that. And now he's confronting Solo Sikoa on the floor. This gives Damian Priest, who's been like almost dead on the floor near the announce table for several minutes. He recovers, sends Jacob Fatu over the barrier with a clothesline into the timekeeper's area. Cody hits a crossroads on Solo. So Tama's out, Solo's out, Jacob's out. In the ring, Damian Priest and Braun Strowman trade ducks and strikes. And then Damian sends Braun into the ring post. Braun staggers out. Damian hits that South of Heaven choke slam for the pinfall. Post-match, Cody and Damian shake hands in the ring. So it's kind of solidifying Damian Priest as a babyface post-Judgment Day, and now that he's on SmackDown. They're trying to give the SmackDown fans, if there's people who hadn't been watching Raw, really a solid picture of Damian Priest, not only as a winner, but as a budding babyface near the top of the card. And so that was your visual sending you off the show. Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest in the ring together with sort of a mutual respect there. What do you make of them giving Damian Priest the Cody Rhodes rub this soon into Damian Priest getting on the SmackDown? This seems to be important to them.
Yeah. I think it makes sense because Cody probably needs some buddies at this point. Because, he's just going to get destroyed by the bloodline. So then he can always it always seems like he just is like default friends with faces, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
Kevin Owens was one guy that he was friends with, but that then was the face. Randy Orton as well. He's just like friendly with them. And then Kevin eventually turned on him. But I guess it'll be helpful down the line as they always like to have their main event tag team matches. And Cody's always like the working champion. So you can't have him do too many singles matches, and they'll have him do like the tag stuff on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And so be like a reason to do it. And then I think more intriguing is the bloodline stuff, where you have Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa kind of eyeing each other a little bit. I think that's really the blood and butter, the bread and butter of the bloodline.
It's the blood and butter too.
It is the blood and butter.
A little bit of internal turmoil there. We hadn't seen that from the heel bloodline 2.0 yet, have we? There hadn't been really that kind of budding animosity between any members of the group. So now it's, what do you do with this? Is there an elimination chamber match between Solo and Jacob? Are they building that for WrestleMania? Excuse me. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think there's going to be a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks than we have just from tonight's show. But a multifaceted main event to this SmackDown. I don't have much else to say about this, unless you want to go into some spots.
Yeah, I do have a couple things. There wasn't, I think it was pretty, there wasn't a ton of stuff to talk about. They do the superplex powerbomb out of the corner. That's an old staple that it seems like they have brought back in the triple threat matches, where, it's a one where it's a big, the crowd always loves it because it does look pretty awesome. there was a point here where um basically Jacob Fatu was in the corner and he like motioned to the crowd and they went Fatu. Jacob Fatu's getting cheered like he's a babyface.
Yes.
So I think you need to pay attention to that because none of the other bloodline members are getting cheered like a babyface. He's also wrestling like a babyface. He does
The
oh
move
boy.
set.
Yeah, the
Right?
moveset is all power stuff, and the moonsault off the top rope looks
Yep.
amazing, and he looks crazy and like an animal, and it's like that's not necessarily a heel, right? Like this guy's just fun. So
A lot of people have said that he's got charisma. He plays to the crowd while he's in the ring. Like and you can't help appreciate that about the guy. And yeah, he's getting some babyface kind of crowd reactions. Yeah. Well, does WWE have a problem on their hands if Jacob Fatu is getting too much babyface reactions too soon?
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I think
Hot take right there. You heard it here first on Don't Bury the Lead.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's kind of like with Tiffany Stratton. You just adjust, you keep the personality, and then just turn her face. So, speaking of Tiffany Stratton, that's the lead.
That's the lead. Yeah, let's go.
Should we? So that's
follow time. It's the follow. That's where we cover the rest of the show. And I think you had a very good segue there. How about the WWE Women's Championship match between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax? I mean, this was a long match. They gave him about 10 minutes plus 2 commercial breaks, but it ends in a DQ.
Yeah, so with, Tiffany Stratton goes over Nia Jax, but
yes,
technically
she keeps the belt
because of a disqualification with Candice LeRae.
Yes.
And then after that, you know, if you want to take it, sorry, go ahead, Dom.
No, go. You sound like you're on a roll. You're going probably where I was. Yes, there was the DQ, and then what happened after the DQ?
We have Charlotte Flair. After Tiffany gets beaten down by Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, she's laying in the ring, and Charlotte Flair comes down, and I should say this. I missed one aspect of this entire segment here where Trish Stratus comes to Tiffany Stratton's aid and helps her kind of fend off all of, all the attacks she's getting from Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. But Tiffany Stratton's still laying in the ring. Charlotte Flair's music hits. She comes down. She pulls out the chair. She takes her sweet old time coming down to the ring. She pulls out the chair. She sits in it and says, I challenge you to WrestleMania.
And she was doing it really with the heel persona. I mean, the way she very slowly sat in the chair and said, Tiffy, wake up, Tiffy, because she had been beaten down by Nia Jax, splashed in the corner, got hit with an annihilator. Another shot in on her from Nia Jax before security gets them out of the ring. So Charlotte's really playing it up, and she says, the queen chooses you.
Yeah.
So heel Charlotte Flair versus babyface Tiffany Stratton. Does Charlotte Flair have some work to do here to drag a really great WrestleMania-style match out of Tiffany Stratton? I think she does. I don't think this will be as easy as getting a match of the year out of Rhea Ripley that she did 2 years ago. I think Charlotte Flair's veteran savvy is going to be put to the test here, getting a WrestleMania main event quality match out of Tiffany Stratton, who at times still looks a little awkward in there. Like she knows her high spots, but she at times looks a little awkward in there. She does a weird looking spine buster on Nia Jax as Nia comes off the ropes.
Yeah.
She does other things where she, like when she takes the Samoan drop off the second turnbuckle, she put her arm out and I'm like going, you're going to dislocate his shoulder.
Totally.
She still looks a little bit unsure of herself when she's not doing her high spots.
Mm-hmm.
I think Charlotte Flair's going to really have to work for this WrestleMania match to be up to that Rhea, even if it just approaches the Rhea Ripley match from WrestleMania 39. But are you excited that Charlotte Flair chooses Tiffany Straton?
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a really good. I think it was the one everyone wanted to see, and it made the most sense. I know what you mean with the spine buster. I noted that as well. One thing I will have to say is she at least got her over, but I guess Nia's so big, she just kind of like got her here, and instead of doing the spine buster, it looked more. Honestly, it looked more like a tackle. It looked more like a natural movement.
Yeah, like she just pushed her.
Yeah, but she
like
got
Nia jumped into the move and spun, so like Nia was going to take the bump regardless, and it was just, well, what does Tiffany make it look like?
Mm-hmm. I think they might have been crisscrossed up of what they were going to do, and she ended up just taking her down, which I think is a good default. It's a good instinctual thing where you're not going to try to pick her up and do something too goofy. You're like, okay, I'm supposed to take her down here, so I'm going to just tackle her, because it's like, you could always make the argument that's probably what would actually happen in a real fight,
Right.
But yeah, so. I thought this was a pretty good match. I'm sorry to see it got cut off with a DQ, but it feels like maybe they could save it for later, or at least they're trying to save it for later. Maybe it goes to Elimination Chamber.
Nia Jax did not seem upset that Candice LeRae got her disqualified either.
No.
So that was an unusual wrinkle there. I mean, everybody else seems to get mad when they get DQ'd in title matches. Nia Jax seemed to be satisfied to just do the beatdown and leave as the person who was standing while Tiffany Straton was lying in the ring. So, like you said, maybe there's another chapter to this down the road. But for now, the focus. I mean, Tiffany can't drop this belt between now and WrestleMania. They've invested too much in the visual of the up and coming blonde high flyer versus the queen blonde high flyer.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, aren't there?
There are some, yeah. Like Charlotte Flair does the Spanish fly off the ropes. She does those kind of things. She's very big into the flexibility when she does not only the figure 4 but bridges into the figure 8. So like Charlotte Flair is into the flexibility, some of the acrobatics as well. There is a similarity to the look. Just because it's the taller, slenderer, blonde,
the bimbo
flamboyant. So I think that they need this visual to come off for WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Straton.
Yeah.
But
what do you think?
It's going to be an awkward few months because Tiffany can't drop the belt. So what are they going to do with her between now and then?
That's always a little bit of the issue with the announcing the WrestleMania matches way too soon.
Yeah,
is that they need to try to build this up so Tiffany's never going to lose the title before WrestleMania. So whoever Tiffany faces here on out, it's not going to be necessarily competitive unless they do its non-title matches, which we saw tonight.
Tag team matches.
Yeah.
Things like you've talked about that. They do that with Cody to get him more TV time and more matches without more title defenses. How about the unusual twist that the champion is the underdog going into WrestleMania? Charlotte Flair is clearly the favorite, and she's the challenger.
Yeah. And Tiffany was really working from under against Nia tonight. Or
a lot too,
Friday
yeah.
night. Yeah. So she was working from under there. I think it kind of makes sense because Charlotte has been like the women's division in the WWE for 10 years, So what did you think of this match though with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton? Any spots you want to call out?
Nia continues to impress me with her work rate, especially as a bigger wrestler. I like just about everything that she does. She's proven that she can work with the smaller wrestlers and not look awkward. So
Yeah, for
Nia
sure.
just impresses me. Tiffany doing the handspring back elbow into the corner, a la the Great Muta, whose name I remembered for the first time ever, calling out that spot.
Yeah.
Nia catch Tiffany and just slam her.
Yeah.
Great big wrestler move there, which I like. I like Nia using the ropes, not the top rope, but she climbed to the second rope for the Samoan drop. She'll climb to the second rope for the leg drop off of there. She does her annihilator off the second rope. So she's not afraid to leave her feet. We already called out that weird looking spine buster that Tiffany did. It was because Nia's not afraid to leave her feet and leap into a move like that. So I'm impressed with a lot of what Nia is showing me. She was a great women's champion.
Mhm.
And I think she's a great chaser without the belt too.
Yeah. Totally agreed. I thought she looked good tonight. I liked some of the she did like a headbutt suplex I've never really seen. So I called that out, where she like headbutt her and then suplex her down. And I was like, I love the one that's really simple that looks nasty is the hip to the pole bump that she kind of delivers. They never, the new announcer, the new play-by-play guy, he never calls what the moves are. I'm really, I'm like, I see the move happen. I'm like, what is this called? And he never says it. I'm really missing Corey Graves here, because then I have to be like, guess what it's called.
Are you referring to when Tiffany Straton was draped over the turnbuckles and Nia was on the apron and did the charge across the apron as if she was smashing Tiffany Straton into the ring post? That one?
Yeah, where she's on the ring apron and she just puts her butt up against the pole. She like smashes her hip up against the pole.
Yep.
So I put
that's
Nia hip to bowl.
Yes, right. Yeah, everybody's doing variations of that hip check charge into either the corner or the ring post.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big move it's especially a big move for all of the Samoans, right?
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, both of the Usos do that. Nia Jax does it, even though she's not in the bloodline. But yeah, that's a standard move, that charging hip check to the opponent who's already prone in the corner, or in this case, draped over the middle rope there. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not in the bloodline, but she is like literally blood with them.
Yes. She's in that Anoa'i Maivia wrestling tree that you can find over on the interwebbies. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
She fits it. I'm interested to see where this goes with Candice LeRae too. She seems to be a good sidekick, but like the size disparity is enormous. Like Nia with Tiffany as the sidekick was still noticeable. Nia with Candice LeRae, it's like Dr. Evil and Mini-Me.
It really is. It is like she is way bigger than her. And it might be perfect. I mean, that's an old school wrestling thing where the managers always benefited when they were tinier, the refs benefit when they're tinier.
Yes.
Because they make the in-ring announcers too. They make the wrestlers look so much bigger. That's pretty old school. That's like
Gordon Soley was short, and it made everybody look more formidable.
That's like Vince Senior, even not even.
Yes, Mean Gene Okerlund was short.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean they're like closer to normal size regular human beings, but an average sized or slightly below average sized human makes a guy who's even 6 feet 210 look big.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything else you want to chat about with this match?
No, it was a DQ.
Yeah.
This was a 2 matches from the final hour where the match itself looked like it took a backseat to other stuff that happened.
Yeah. So where do you want to head to next? We just talked about Nia Jax versus Tiffany Straton, which was more of a throwaway schmozz.
LA Knight versus The Miz, in as far as matches that finished, was probably the match of the night. This was somewhat of a callback to their WWE Payback Premium Live event match from September of 2023 when John Cena was the special guest referee. I thought Miz and LA Knight worked really well together building up to that match. I did not have a lot of notes from this match. I was simply enjoying how well matched, for lack of a better word, these two guys are in the ring.
They were
I
perfect
like
together.
their chemistry, right?
Yeah, they were perfect together. And
LA Knight wins. I don't have a lot of spots, but I wrote really good match, even competitors. Did you have anything? This match went a little over 10 minutes. It began during a commercial break, and then they took another commercial break. It started with Shinsuke Nakamura in the ring, working on his English for the promo.
Yeah.
LA Knight comes out and interrupts, and then The Miz interrupts LA Knight. And Nick Aldis makes a match for right now, hinting that whoever wins between LA Knight and The Miz, may be getting a shot at Shinsuke Nakamura for the U.S. title. And then, we get the match right away. Always a good sign when two of the guys join are already in their ring gear. They're wrestling.
I know. Right? They're going to wrestle each
other.
other.
They're going to wrestle. And we get a good match. Do you have any spots you want to call out? Or LA Knight wins with the blunt force trauma, but he doesn't pin after the blunt force trauma. Nice wrinkle here. He does that as kind of a surprise move. And then the finisher is his leap to the top turnbuckle for the elbow drop. So LA Knight changing up how he gets his wins.
Yeah.
I like it. Do you have any stuff you wanted to call out from the match itself?
Yes, I did want to mention pre-match, the promo between The Miz and LA Knight was pretty good.
Okay.
I liked how he said, I forgot Miz was even here. Because I too forgot Miz was even in the WWE. Like I knew he was there, but I haven't seen him in anything. I think he was in the Royal Rumble, but everyone was in the Royal Rumble. That's what the Royal Rumble is. The entire roster's in it.
Sure.
And then he said, I'm going to beat you so you could go away. And the crowd starts chanting, go away, go away. So the crowd's getting into everything that LA Knight says. And he's giving the crowd like little bits to chant, and then they're chanting it, which is like, I think he's probably, Cody Rhodes talks a lot in these SmackDowns. Yes. And I think it's a lot of times just like setting up the storyline, but then LA Knight talks a lot and it's very entertaining. Right. Like the crowd is like really jazzed and really into it. So they're two different types of like, I'm not saying Cody Rhodes isn't good on the mic. I'm saying that like LA Knight's way funner he's a way more fun of a promo.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, a better promo than Cody. Not that Cody's bad.
Cody Rhodes is still doing the everything is the story. Everything is I'm telling a story. I'm doing dramatic pauses. And LA Knight comes out, like a house on fireball. And, he's a mile a minute. He's got a lot to say. Some of it's insults. Some of it's talking up himself. Like in this one where he correctly noted that, between Shinsuke Nakamura, who's got the belt now, and the guy who had the belt before LA Knight, Logan Paul, it's like the belt never gets defended. It's like it doesn't exist. And yet when LA Knight had the belt, he put shine on the U.S. Championship, which, fact check, true. LA Knight made the U.S. Championship better than it's been in a long time. Not only because of his stature holding it, but because he loved wrestling. Mm-hmm. He came out and wrestled. You saw the belt. It was our, early days back to Gunther wrestling constantly as Intercontinental Champion on those early days of SmackDown for us. Like, he's right. He put shine on that belt, and I'm hoping that the shine's not getting taken off because it's now just a prop. It's not something that gets featured.
No, totally. I feel like I haven't really seen a ton of Nakamura.
No.
And, the promo is rough because you can't understand what he's saying.
Yep.
But, I do like the entrance. I am very sports entertained. I wrote in my notes by Nakamura's entrance. Just maybe even kind of pivoting to the match here. Not too much to say. LA Knight hits a lot of the plays the hits, and the hits do their job. He has an awesome power slam. I love his dive because I hate dives, but I love the LA Knight dive through the ropes feet first.
Yes, not over the top. That looks more like what you would do if you were in a fight.
Yes. You wouldn't go like swan dive over the top of the rope. You're frantically just trying to get out through the ropes as quickly as possible. And everyone just does the dive. So he at least goes feet first, where it's like, all right, well, everyone has to do these dives. You could tell it's part of the way that they're trained and the way that all the matches are structured. So
take it to the floor. Yep.
Take it and do a creative way to get out. But anyways, good stuff for them. Probably match of the night. And kudos to Miz for just coming off the bench, coming out of catering, and putting on a good match.
He had been involved in Raw in a program with the Wyatt Six and the Final Testament with Karrion Kross. So he was getting a little bit of ring time, but it was mostly storyline stuff. I'd be interested to see what he does on SmackDown, because he looks like he can still wrestle. So he's serviceable in the ring still, not just as a character. I would not mind seeing more of The Miz. I would not mind seeing more of Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm with you. I like this new character, this new twist they've put on his character, the little more dark to the character. I like it. I just want to see him wrestle more. I want to see the belt showcased.
All right. So we just talked about LA Knight versus The Miz. Where do you want to go to next here?
A few quick matches. R-Truth versus Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes wins in about 2.5 minutes. R-Truth is also over on SmackDown now, apparently. Melo hits his top turn leg drop that nothing but net for the pinfall. It's just about 2.5 minutes. Not a lot to say. R-Truth is fun. If they're going to have somebody be sort of a comedy break in a long show like this, R-Truth is maybe the best at it. So I don't mind seeing, if you're going to be good at the comedy stuff, I don't mind it. So R-Truth is good to have. Another match we saw, Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garza. Motor City Machine Guns wins this one in about 8 minutes. Alex Shelley pins Umberto after the Skull and Bones double team. Maybe too much of a hot take here, but I am already getting tired of the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, not too hot, in my opinion, because I have been a little itchy with the fast forward button with their matches. When I'm watching a 3-hour show, the Motor City Machine Guns come on, they are a little bit bathroom breaky.
Okay. I wanted Los Garza to win this.
Yeah, I know.
I think they've got more potential. I've said before, I thought Umberto had a coming out party in his LA Knight US Championship Open Challenge match, where I thought he looked great. And Angel also looks pretty good. I wanted Los Garza to get a little push here.
Yeah, the Motor City Machine Guns are, how do I put this?
Formulaic.
Yeah, it's very fast moving, fast paced, little jitterbugs out there. And then like once you see it once or twice, you're like, yep, they're just doing this jitterbug stuff, aren't they?
Yep.
I don't think they really have personalities. They don't have like the in-ring charisma is like non-existent. You know, they're not selling to the crowd. They don't really look like anything. They don't really look, even like their looks in general is just like very plain and very boring and very generic.
They look like they're wrestling for each other.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of them already. If there's supposed to be more tag teams ready to step into the title picture here, I thought this was a chance for Los Garza, and I'm a little disappointed that they didn't get the win here. I don't know what this does for the Motor City Machine Guns. It certainly doesn't do anything for Los Garza. I mean, what are we going to see? Another Motor City Machine Guns title fight here? I don't want to see that. So I don't know what this does for either of these teams.
The Motor City Machine Guns are weird because they almost have too much screen time for what their ability is. It's like, oh no, like you could tell they wrestled the one match and they're just going to do it on repeat. But
they could use some adversity, like real adversity, like they lose a match clean.
Yeah, they're protecting them like crazy, like they're Hulk Hogan.
Like, right?
You know, they're like, you know, this isn't Hulk Hogan. They're like, they want to, I don't know. They're maybe Triple H just saw something in them. Maybe this is supposed to be the Lucha Bros, and they never got signed quick enough with Penta and Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, Penta's had a good push.
Yeah, Penta had a crazy push so far because I mean, which makes sense. You want to bring someone in, they got to get wins. But and
the Motor City Machine Guns, they're just a little too small. You know, they wrestle the style they wrestle because they have to, but they're formulaic at this point. They're not that interesting, and you know, maybe it's also because I've been impressed by Los Garza enough that I want to see them win something and be elevated and have a chance.
Even like with the, I mean, I know we've been trashing Motor City Machine Guns, but I'm going to continue.
Sure.
Even with their, like the two guys, I don't know which one has which moveset. Like there's no, it's like they're twins. Like they do the same exact things and the same style.
Interchangeable.
You look at the great tag teams, there's definitely big differences between the two different styles. Like the Dudley Boys is the best example. Like, you know, Devon and Bubba Ray. They both you know, Devon's was Bubba Ray when he was in his like 3D prime, he was way fat, right?
Yeah.
And Bubba Ray was more like athletic and stocky.
Yes. Yep.
They're both big guys though, you know?
Yep.
They look different, the whole 9 yards. So there's not that contrast between them, and then even the styles are the same. So I don't know. Motor City Machine Guns, yeah, we've been pressing fast forward, but maybe they could prove us wrong. Maybe they come out, they give them a break, give them a SmackDown off, you know?
Yeah, we got a video promo for the Street Profits hinting that Angelo Dawkins is still not cleared to wrestle, but when they are, you know, they're making their moves. I'd like to see the Street Profits. I'd like to see Los Garza. I'd like to see this be the tag team division, guys getting a chance and not it be just so obvious that some guys are just there to lose. I think there's enough tag teams where you can make it interesting with enough guys who are plausible as winners. So, you know, that's another thing we saw. One more match here, Naomi versus Chelsea Green. Naomi wins to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. I didn't have a lot to write down about this match. Naomi joins Bianca Belair in the Elimination Chamber now, coming up March 1st in Toronto. What do you think about that, putting both Naomi and Bianca Belair in the Elimination Chamber? The tag champs both qualify for the match.
Add some intrigue, right? To what's going to happen with Jade coming back, who attacked Jade. Naomi's going to be in there. You'll have Bianca Belair in there as well. I like it. I think it's going to make it a little bit more interesting. I know they've been trying to they've plugged Naomi in, and it's been like, wow, this is a much better fit than Jade. You know, like Naomi's is a better wrestler than Jade. And so like the tag matches have been better as a result. The matches where Naomi has to plug in, you're like, this match is probably going to be better than a Jade match. But you know, maybe Jade is, I don't know if she's legit injured and they fake the injury.
They're still playing it up that, you know, who attacked Jade. And I'm glad you mentioned that they had a backstage thing with Nick Aldis with some video that they had just found of the aftermath of Jade being attacked. And as they set it up that as Jade was being loaded into the ambulance, you could see way in the corner of this big security camera feed, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez walking off to the side, which I'm not sure makes any sense because I don't think Raquel Rodriguez was back yet when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what WWE is trying to do here with this.
Right.
But they were playing up like Naomi was saying, yeah, finally, everybody kept saying it was me. It was me. It wasn't me. It was Liv and Raquel. We're going to go confront them on Raw. So, all right, more angles and feuds to go. But for people who were watching months ago, I don't think that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, yeah, really good. Yeah, I don't. I wonder if that is a swerve.
I hope it is.
I had an idea that it's a swerve, or they're gonna be like, yeah, we walked by there, but it doesn't make any sense that they attacked them. The only reason I could think that they would pawn it off as Raquel, because if you can remember, Raquel's had some really good matches in the past. So maybe they're like, if we're gonna have Jade have a singles run, Raquel Rodriguez would be a good matchup. Because remember, she's the only one that got a good match out of
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
Yes.
Ronda Rousey was not so hot. She was not such a great pro wrestler. And also she was like quiet quitting.
Right.
You saw all the interviews later on. It was like, oh, why was Ronda Rousey so bad? She's such a good athlete. It's like, oh, she just hated it there and wanted to leave. It's like, wow, okay. So she's just like, yeah, okay. It's funny that she was quiet quitting and they had her on the roster actively wrestling.
Yeah.
And they had her like as the champ at one point.
And then tag champs.
Yeah. And then they were like, well, she has to be some form of a champ. Give her the tag titles.
Yeah. So I think that's it for matches. We got a Sami Zayn video promo saying he wants Kevin Owens as soon as he's healthy. And then we got a little later Kevin Owens in his rental car crying about how he wants Sami Zayn in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber since they're both Canadian. I don't know how that's going to go out. If that could be a fun main event for the Canadian crowd for Elimination Chamber. I was hoping they'd save that for WrestleMania since neither guy has anything to do for WrestleMania.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's time for Sami Zayn to go over on Kevin Owens because it's been the reverse forever. I think it's time if they really have this where, and I would bet that Kevin Owens is probably pining to do this backstage.
Oh, yeah.
Please. It's time. He really is my friend and he deserves it.
Are they building up for the Toronto, show? Is that
they're
why
trying to build up the Toronto Elimination Chamber that these two guys are going to fight there?
Yeah. Do you think that's what the next step is here? We're going to have Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens in the Elimination Chamber.
I think so, but I'd rather than doing it at WrestleMania. I want to see that that's the kind of undercard match at WrestleMania that would be fantastic.
Right.
They don't have a belt. They don't need a belt.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be entertaining. Like you need those kind of matches at WrestleMania. It's a 2-day event. You need some stuff like that.
You need really good matches that the two guys are going to execute and you look forward to it. Yeah, totally. It can't just be like, oh, Bad Bunny's going to be here.
Yeah,
and
nobody's going to cry over, oh, how come I'm not getting elevated? Like Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest are apparently yapping that, the plans were for Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest to have a WrestleMania undercard match. And, I don't know if they're feeding this as, another fake controversy, but, it's like, do you want Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest in that kind of a match?
Yeah.
I mean, that one sounds like a downgrade from where they've both been recently. But like a real blood feud between Sami and Kevin sounds like it would be a lot of fun and would not need a match. And no one would care that there wasn't a ranking in the title picture at stake.
Yeah, you put it right in the middle of the card. No one would be upset with it. They would be like,
people
okay,
would
that'll
just
want to
watch the match.
Yeah, seriously.
So I think that's all I got. I don't think there was anything else backstage that was interesting. We got all 6 matches. Anything that you think we missed?
No, Dom, but Is it drive time?
I think it's drive time. Yes. Oh, wait, one thing. Wait. Drew confronted Jimmy Uso and tried to do some funny stuff with him, like a slow hand playing, insulting Jimmy. And eventually Drew turns back around, and Jimmy super kicks him right in the chest. Jimmy doesn't get a word in this entire backstage confrontation, but, he leaves, walking off tall after super kicking Drew McIntyre. So,
All right.
fun to see Drew McIntyre getting into it with everybody and still pretending that he's the good guy for it. And getting a little comeuppance too. Like there's a big old sneaker to your chest there, buddy.
He's playing the CM Punk real life gimmick, where everyone is at fault and he's not the bad guy. Everyone else is the bad guy. But he's actually doing it as a character. How much
better is Drew McIntyre at CM Punk than CM Punk is?
Right. Right.
I'm better at you than you are. Very good. Yeah, there we go. That was the last thing I saw here in my notes that deserved a good mention there. Yes, I think it is drive time. It's the road to WrestleMania. But for us, every single show, it is the road to you and I distilling this entire wrestling program into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course, pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't give a star rating. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 3 stars at the TD Bank Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. No. We don't do star ratings. We just give a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. Dom, are you ready?
Not only am I ready, I'm going to do it with the kid-sized fireball.
Oh, ready. 3, 2, 1. Oh, you give it a thumbs down.
Mm-hmm.
Dom, why'd you give this show a thumbs down?
I thought the last hour got a little too gimmicky. I'm tired of the Motor City Machine Guns. I didn't need a Carmelo Hayes squash. The opening match was maybe anticlimactic. The LA Knight Miz match was great, but I can't have one great match in a 3-hour show and Kevin Owens in his car. So I just don't think there was enough in a 3-hour program to merit a kid-sized fireball up.
Yeah.
It wasn't a terrible program, but I teetered and I just teetered down. Were you also teetering and just gave it the teeter up at the end there?
Yeah, exactly. I was
so you and I were probably close. Make the case for us, Dr. John, as to why this deserved a teetering up.
If it wasn't for LA Knight and The Miz, it would have been a thumbs down. I think with LA Knight and The Miz, Nia Jax, Tiffany Straton, there was enough wrestling there that was good. If they're going to start doing stuff where they introduce guys like R-Truth out, I want to see him have a real match. I don't need to see squashes. Like, I get, hey, we want to build Carmella Hayes, so we're going to have him squash. It's like, have him wrestle a real match with R-Truth, who can go and who is way over with the crowd. Have him just wrestle a real match and then, cut some of the other stuff. Like you said, Motor City Machine Guns. But thumbs up for me because Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton I thought was good. And, wish there was a finish, but I get why they didn't do it. The triple threat at the end was actually pretty solid as well. But yeah, so I teetered toward thumbs up just because I err on the side of like, okay, close enough. And I knew it was a monetization show, so I wanted to keep the vibes high.
Very good. I can be talked into it. It was close for me. So
It wasn't like the worst in the world, but it definitely is one that you could have easily watched Don't Bury the Lead and got the recap and not had to watch any of it.
Or do both, which is what you should be doing. The show is fun to watch, and we're fun to watch too.
Yes.
Especially now that more than 1,000 of you have subscribed at our YouTube channel. Wherever you're watching us on live stream, whether it's Twitch, whether it's X, whether it's YouTube. Know that the mother load of our content is over at the YouTube channel. Don't Bury the Lead, or wrestling channel. So we've got these great edited videos that you make, John, plus those hashtag shorts that are the under 60-second videos, plus the archive of all of our live stream shows. Go take a romp through our archive, see what we have to offer, and while you're there, subscribe, hit the like button for the stuff that you enjoyed, so we know we get your feedback and we know what kind of stuff you want to see from us. I think it's time for Cheap Heat, which is where a lot of those edited videos come from, right?
That's right, Dom. It's time for Cheap Heat. Cheap Heat is essentially the foundation of the show is Cheap Heat. This is where we talk about WWE, AEW, and other parts of the wrestling world. We talk about trending topics within the wrestling world. We release it as a full video that kind of gets our watch hours up. Hint, hint, wink, wink for anyone that's kind of in the YouTube verse. That's how we're able to get monetized as a result of getting subscribers. And we cut them down to shorter videos as well. So we'll have like 2, 3, 4-minute videos, hopefully getting lots of views from them. But the algorithm loves trending topics. So we, instead of fighting the algorithm, we said, let's go with the flow. Let's do what the YouTube machine tells us to do. And we talk about Cheap Heat here, so trending topics. And we used Restream, which is nice enough to upgrade and make it worse for me to show. Give me a sec as I figure this out. Okay, here we go.
It's working. It was we're going to lead off Cheap Heat with some Super Bowl news. The Eagles beat the Chiefs very handily in Super Bowl 59 there in a rematch of what had been merely 2 years ago. And there were a lot of AEW guys at the Super Bowl. Here's Tony Khan with, let's see, with Adam Devine here. We've got the Boomers were there. They're part of the AEW ecosystem now. Mercedes Moné, the CEO, was there at the Super Bowl. And local to the Philly region, folks, Gail Kim and her husband, Robert Irvine, who is a famous Atlantic City casino celebrity chef. They were apparently at the Super Bowl as well. John, we were not at the Super Bowl, but what do you think of these AEW folks, wrestling folks, getting some of their football on?
Dom, I love it because I am an Eagles fan, and this was like the greatest night for me. I enjoyed the game thoroughly, as only Eagles fans did. I think the rest of the nation was tuned out by halftime. And I also went to the parade on Friday. So I am recovering for sure as a result of those two events. But I'll tell you what, Gail Kim, kind of an underrated pro wrestler, right? She's probably one of the first women wrestlers that was like really wrestling. She kind of led that revolution, if you will.
Yes, back in the old TNA. She was one of the first people that you could see legitimately could beat a bigger wrestler like Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong was basically a Nia Jax-like figure back then. Yeah, Gail Kim was fantastic. And I think those early days of TNA forced WWE away from the lingerie model diva stuff that they were doing with their women wrestlers and had to really force WWE's hand to let the real women athletes show what they could do.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gail Kim is really a trailblazer in that regard. And Robert Irvine had some great shows on the Food Network back in the day, like Mission Restaurant Impossible, Food Recipe Impossible. He did some good stuff there. So
I just
great
recognized
entertainment
him.
pairing there.
Yeah, I just recognized him because I was like, "Who is this guy? This looks familiar."
Chef Robert Irvine from the Food Network. Yep, he was an Atlantic City casino chef.
Yeah.
So he at least is low. I don't know where Gail Kim is from, but Robert Irvine has some roots here in the Philly area.
Mercedes Monet also playing both sides here. It looks like she has on red in her top, but then green in her hair. So
green in the hair. There you go.
So she's just she could go to the Super Bowl party afterwards and fit in. And then, the other is Tony Khan at the Super Bowl. His Jaguars didn't make it because they were terrible this year. But
most teams don't make it. But yes, his team was terrible.
Yeah, Adam Levine is a pretty good comedy actor. Or Adam, is it
Devine?
Devine. I said Adam Levine.
Devine.
Adam Devine.
Stand-up comedy and very serious acting. Okay.
He's pretty funny. He's got some stuff on HBO that's good. He was in a show called Workaholics. Actually, a couple of things he's done are pretty good. So yeah, I'm actually a fan, even though I did not know his name.
There you go. And of course, the Boomers were there. So fun stuff from the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Moving over, we've got Kenny Omega talking about Logan Paul. I guess people were asking him about Logan Paul, who's a very good natural athlete and very acrobatic. And Kenny Omega, without trashing Logan Paul, he's just talking about, look, it's a different style of wrestling. You're asking me as someone who, wrestled in Japan and had to put on bangers every night on the G1 circuit, versus Logan Paul, who's basically doing what WWE wants him to do. What say you about Kenny Omega walking a fine line here, not wanting to trash a guy, but also wanting to give a decent accounting of the kind of wrestling that he's known for?
Yeah. This is interesting because I think while Kenny wasn't insulting Logan Paul, he's like, yeah, he's still got a little bit of work to do because he can't really go out and call a match and just have it go. Considering, Logan Paul's, let's just say, ability to just start drama with everyone possible, I do think it's a little interesting. I think he towed the line a little bit with kind of giving a bit of a little backhanded compliment, right? Where he's like, oh, he's pretty good, but I don't know if he could wrestle in Japan. Like, I don't think he could call on the fly.
He did end this short clip here saying that, if Logan is doing what they want him to do in WWE, then he should keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you wrestle like you're in G1 if you're in WWE and they don't want that? Like, you're signed to WWE.
For sure.
So, yeah, I think Kenny was asked about this, and he did a good job of answering the question as a professional without just trying to dump on everybody.
Yeah, he seems like a really good guy, and he's really well-spoken. And I'll have to say, because of that, you could see that he avoided saying the really cruel stuff that a lot of people have said about Logan. I think a lot of people kind of mix it up with Logan Paul on the internet. So he's kind of avoided that like unprofessional tone. But at the same time, I think he probably pointed out something that's correct, where he's so green that he couldn't necessarily just go out and call a match. A lot of his stuff is heavily scripted or seemingly heavily scripted.
Or just called by the other guy.
Yeah, right. He's not the one leading the dance.
That works. Some roster changes going on. This comes to us from comingsoon.net. Ricky Starks, Miro, and Malachi Black released by AEW. What do you know about those three wrestlers? Do you think any of them could show up in WWE? Talk for a while if you can. I need to hit the button here.
Yeah, sure. We got Malachi Black. We got Ricky Starks. We got Miro. Three guys that were released by AEW. I think a lot of them, the writing was on the wall for them. I have at least read rumors. Who knows how true it is about Malachi Black being a bit of a pain. I wonder if that has anything to do with him being released. I don't think he was so great in AEW. I don't think he was so great in WWE either. I think he's had like a pretty cool gimmick and entrances and look, but lots of striking. But Malachi Black won't be a big loss. Buddy Matthews in their group there needs a push because Buddy Matthews is really good. That was in the group that he was with Malachi Black. Ricky Starks has been an interesting case where he's kind of publicly poo-pooed the company while he was in it. You know, hey, I'm not getting my push. I'm not getting my rub. I'm not getting booked. So he has his wish. He goes to WWE and he premiered in NXT. There's another guy that I think that the crowd seemed to be reacting to that AEW didn't take advantage of, but I didn't really get it. So, but if other people get it and I don't get it, that's okay too, you know? So it seemed like he was getting like some responses from the crowd, but at the same time, there were some instances where, you know, he had a promo with Edge and he went off script and talked about his bug eyes. And then like they just started jawing back and forth. And, you know, he went off script, kind of stupid to do. Ricky Starks, hopefully he does well in NXT. Not trying to root against him. We don't actively do that on Don't Bury the Lead. We typically root for the guy. So hopefully he goes to NXT. I don't think he makes sense for the WWE main roster. It's just a bit too stacked, and maybe he can develop himself there. Miro was awesome in AEW. Sorry I didn't see more of him. He was featured sporadically, and when he was featured, he beat Darby Allin for the TNT title. He was really good. They kind of just dropped the Russian gimmick as he had as Rusev, and he ended up being a really good talent, I feel like, for AEW. One thing with these three guys, you got Malachi Black, Ricky Starks, and Miro. All three had their advantages, and you could make an argument that, they weren't used well or they weren't used correctly. They really have 2-hour show where, I mean, they have AEW Collision that isn't too popular, but they have AEW Dynamite. They have 2 hours to fill. Not all these guys are going to get airtime. Not all these guys can get airtime. I mean, Ricky Starks, is he really going to draw you this huge crowds? And, you know, you can't publicly poo-poo the company and be surprised when you're not getting booked. And, you know, there's just some aspects there where he needs to be a little bit more professional, in my opinion. Malachi Black, another case where maybe he can get picked up by WWE. And Miro was awesome. So hopefully he gets picked up by WWE, New Japan, somewhere. I think Miro is the biggest loss there.
Okay. There have been rumors that Ricky Starks has already been spotted backstage. He has a long-standing relationship with Michelle McCool and The Undertaker.
He premiered at NXT. He's already in the company.
Do you think he's main roster worthy, or you think he's just going to kind of get stuck in NXT?
I was saying for the time being right now, he'll be NXT. And I think that makes sense for him. I think a lot of people, there were certain people out there that were like really high on Ricky Starks. I was not one of them. But
Okay.
Dom, just because I don't like something doesn't mean, you know, everyone else can't like something. So there was a certain aspect of him where he was kind of over with AEW. And I was saying, you know, maybe just to sum it up here, these three guys, AEW's roster is really loaded, and they have 2 hours of TV time realistically to highlight them a week. So, you know, a lot of these, Ricky Starks was a guy who was like, you know, I'm sitting the bench, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm trying, you know, I'm in the prime of my career. I need more TV time. And realistically, there's other guys that need TV time too, you know. Their roster is a bit bloated. Miro is going to be the biggest loss, and Malachi Black was just okay.
Okay, good stuff. It's apparently that time of season here. Again, from comingsoon.net. Blair Davenport. Now, the hook for the article, the rumor was that because she dated Will Ospreay a long time ago, that why she was released by WWE. That doesn't seem to be the story. The story seems to be over the weekend, WWE released several wrestlers. The Good Brothers, that was the guys who were in AJ Styles OC, right?
Yeah.
Sonya Deville, who I thought was always entertaining.
Yeah.
the Acolytes of Pain or Apostles of Pain. So I guess there goes the final testament with Karrion Kross, although he seems to be around. Paul Ellering as well. So that group seems to be done now. Isla Dawn, who was one half of a recent women's tag team champion with Alba Fire. Cedric Alexander, Giovanni Vinci, who I'm not going to lie, I thought he was already released. And because he just wasn't, we didn't see him do anything. And then Blair Davenport. A lot of names being released by WWE. Do any of these names have potential in, say, AEW, or do you think they're going to be doing a lower tier wrestling promotions? Maybe have to go overseas, maybe have to take independent bookings. Well, give me your best one of this bunch that you think might be able to slot over into AEW, into the other major promotion pretty quickly.
I would say two stick out to me.
Okay.
The Good Brothers have had a good career.
Yes.
And they got released by WWE, but they have been with WWE doing all kinds of other stuff forever. They haven't really been wrestling a lot. It's not a big surprise to see them get released. I don't want to say, they're not like Dolph Ziggler, for example. Dolph was there for years, and it wasn't a terrible surprise when he got released because he's just been there forever. Same thing with the Good Brothers. They have just kind of been there forever. So they had a good career. I don't feel so bad about them. Whereas like you have some young wrestlers like Isla Dawn, like that was pretty early in her career. She had a tag team title a couple months ago. That's actually kind of surprising. And then, so I would say people that can go to AEW, Good Brothers, that seems like the most obvious fit because people would know who they are. And then Sonya Deville sticks out to me because Sonya Deville is a wrestler that has a very unique style with her MMA background. And I've liked the way that she's wrestled. So kind of makes sense, though, once Ronda Rousey was out of the company, writing was a little bit on the wall for her. She's done some GCW shows. Sonya Deville, because she wasn't really getting booked with WWE, so GCW asked if they could use her, and they let her. So, she was part of Bloodsport. So maybe she ends up in GCW because she did Josh. You know what Josh Burnett's Bloodsport is? That's basically where they
vaguely
they don't have any ropes, and they just use the ring with no ropes, and it's more like strong style, like. Stiff.
No Irish whips.
There's no Irish whips. It's supposed to be like a little bit more like an MMA match and more so like it's called Bloodsport, but it's mostly like, a lot of like technical wrestling. There's not a lot of like.
Okay.
Anyways, it's a pretty big deal in the indies because that's just one that's very unique. John Moxley did it a while ago. But anyways, kind of anybody that you're surprised got released here or anybody that sticks out to you?
Yeah, Blair Davenport. I thought she was kind of on the periphery of like they mentioned here, a storyline with Women's United States champion Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So everybody else, I hadn't seen the Good Brothers in a while. Hadn't seen Sonya Deville in a while. Looked like AOP and Paul Ellering and even Karrion Kross. They were over on Raw, so I didn't see them much at all. But they looked like they were being decreased their TV time. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. It really didn't see much from them. Cedric Alexander, I had forgotten about. Giovanni Vinci, I had forgotten about. So Blair Davenport, I hadn't forgotten about.
Yeah,
and Sonya Deville, I hadn't forgotten about. So, yeah, those are the most surprising.
It's interesting that WWE, even though constantly talking about how much money they make, always seems to have these layoffs that are always like some of them are like a little baffling, where the people aren't necessarily like underperforming. They're just not getting booked, and then they just release them. It's not like there's some sort of thing that really sticks out. So you never know what's going on behind the scenes. But when you have like somebody like the Good Brothers have been there for 20 years, like, or 10, at least 10. That's
Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why would
Yeah,
they?
well, it's product quality control. It's not just a matter of can we. I mean, yeah, we probably could afford to have a big bloated roster, but if you're not going to use people, just why have all those extra moving parts around for creative? And if some of these people are still in their primes, like Ricky Starks was in this position. He wants to go out and wrestle and make a name for himself and work towards that next payday and that next contract. He doesn't want to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
So maybe some of these guys, it's better for them if they get to go do something else with their professional lives.
Yeah. True.
So, TNA also big changes, but it's behind the scenes stuff. Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme released. They were not really wrestlers or on-screen characters. This comes for us from WrestleZone. But they had a big deal to do behind the scenes, as TNA's been, it's really been an up-and-coming promotion, especially with the WWE arrangement that they have.
Yeah.
Christy Hemme was TNA's head of marketing and apparently was doing a good job. Josh Matthews was senior producer, senior director of digital media. Not sure if they said that it doesn't look like they've been replaced because they were doing a terrible job or anything. Just maybe, a new ownership, want to change want to change things up a bit. New CEO comes in, new C-suite people. Yeah, I mean, it's a business. People move around. It's like in sports. Sometimes people just need a change of scenery.
I wonder if I wonder if TNA is trying to get bought by WWE. So what better way to get bought by WWE than to trim whatever fat they can potentially trim?
Okay.
And be like, oh, hey, look at we're actually profitable, or look at the salaries we have. Like,
wow,
do you want to buy it?
That's a good hot take I hadn't thought of. Yeah, last time someone, Scott D'Amore, had tried to buy TNA and was rebuffed with that, and he's out of the company now and has been for a while. He's doing Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling up in Canada.
All right.
But their president, Anthony Ciccone, has also left his role. However, he's supposed to remain with Anthem Sports, which is the parent company behind TNA. Carlos Silva's the new president. He joined in December. So maybe this is, new president wants his people in, just doing a reshuffling, new head coach, new assistant coaches, that kind of thing. So yeah, major shakeups at all of the major or almost major professional wrestling promotions in the U.S. Hey, another thing we've got here. How about Vince McMahon? He's had some criminal probe. The federal portion of his criminal probe has been dropped. He's still facing a civil suit, but the feds dropped their criminal probe into whether McMahon covered up sexual misconduct allegations. So it's no longer a federal case. This comes from Vince McMahon's lawyer. This may be a situation where, regime change in the federal government. McMahon has some friends there. He's separated from Linda McMahon, but she's up for a cabinet position. Donald Trump, the president, is rather friendly there. I'm not going to say whether it was the previous administration trumping up charges on Vince McMahon or whether it's the current administration making a phone call and saying, hey, take it easy on this guy. But, whatever it is, new boss comes in and things are different. Vince McMahon is still not out of hot water here. He still faces the civil suit, but he doesn't have the prospect of a federal case over his hanging over his head. And in fact, the federal case was delaying the civil suit for months. We've talked about that, Lo. Like the feds were like, hey, hold on while we do our investigation. And so it put this former employee who wanted to file the civil suit, it put her kind of on the back burner. Mm-hmm. So maybe things start getting resolved here.
Yeah. Talk about a big waste of time for the victim here, because she ended up holding off on her case because the feds were going to go after Vince. And it was like, it took forever. I mean, it took a while for them to even come to this, and they just dropped it. So it's like, she could have just gotten the ball rolling with a civil case while it was more so in the media as well. Got that really cooking, and then eventually moved on. Give me just a sec here. Sorry.
I just like showing pictures of Vince McMahon looking like a Marvel comic villain.
I know. That's mustache Vince. Hang on. Sorry.
Pencil thin mustache. Yes. Go ahead. I'll talk a little about Vince here. Vince McMahon, as a wrestling fan, I appreciate all that Vince McMahon has done for the industry, but that doesn't excuse what kind of a person he is, what kind of a boss and supervisor he is to those people around him. I mean, being a great visionary in your industry doesn't excuse treating people like crap, and perhaps even abusing people, violating people. So I'd like to see this resolved. I'd like to see Janelle Grant have her day, even if not in court, just, have a fair hearing as to what she was or was not owed from this business arrangement that she was involved in. There's a picture of Vince McMahon from a younger and perhaps happier time back when he was still in the WWE. There's perhaps happier times with Vince and Linda, although there was news that they had separated. And yes, as they said here, Linda has been tapped by President Trump to lead the Department of Education. She had a confirmation hearing this past week. I believe it was Thursday was the big one. Both of her children were there. Stephanie McMahon Levesque was there with, I believe, Paul Levesque was there as well. And Shane McMahon was there. So, the McMahons are involved in the federal government, just not apparently Vince being involved on the wrong end of a federal probe. This has been going on for almost a year. The Wall Street Journal broke the news in February of 2024 that federal prosecutors were eyeing McMahon. So this is it's been about a 12-month. What are the feds going to do? Will they or won't they? So good to have something at least resolved. And, Janelle Grant should have, at least a fair hearing for what happened with her business relationship and her professional relationship with Vince McMahon. There again, with the current president, showing some more photos here. New York Post is always good about having various photos in their articles. So these are all interesting if you want to go look at them, especially the Vince McMahon as a Marvel comic supervillain with the weird purple tie and looking like, he's got the pencil thin mustache, clearly dyeing the hair.
When he dyed the hair black and he had the mustache, it was like he's trying to look like a bad guy.
That's it right there. This is it. He needs a name. He needs like a supervillain name. Maybe he can come up with one. He did that for years. So that's our Vince McMahon thing. Let's end on a happier note here from WrestleZone here. Excuse me. LA Knight. These are always fun, kind of like your bar fight teams or your Mount Rushmores. LA Knight choosing his bar fight team. He was on the No Contest Wrestling podcast. He chose basically guys with real amateur wrestling backgrounds. His bar fight team, America Made, Julius and Brutus Creed. Plus he chose Otis and Braun Breaker. Seems like a fair bit of guys with real grappling and fighting experience there. Not going to argue with that. Did LA Knight, though, did he maybe take this a little too seriously and just pick all of the amateur wrestling shoot fighters here and freestyle wrestling shoot fighters? Wouldn't it be more fun to say something like, I want Nia Jax.
Or Sheamus, because I know he drinks a lot,
Yeah, something like that. Like if it's a bar, I know Sheamus knows his way around a bar.
Yeah. Ric Flair, he definitely knows his way around the bar.
Sure.
But no, I think that he made the most logical choices. Especially Otis was a really good wrestler. Coming up, which is tough to imagine, but he used to be a lot thinner and a lot, a lot more athletic. So
He
more
still moves pretty good, but he's definitely put on some pounds.
Yeah, because he's such a goofy comedy gimmick. It's like, oh no, he can really go.
Yep. This is a ridiculous question. All right, I feel like I'd probably take what is it? American Alpha? No, what are they? American Made. Yeah, I'll take both of them.
Right.
I'll probably take Braun Breaker with me. Fair enough. Oh, we need 5. Oh, I thought I was the 4th. Oops. Okay. What? Give me Dozer, who's Otis. Give me Big. Yeah, give me all the shooter boys. I'm ready to rock.
Yeah.
Not a bad 4. What are you doing, man? Maybe you get to the bar and perhaps the fireball is it's flowing a little freely there at the bar. And you need some backup for a bar fight. And the Creed brothers, Otis and Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I mean, so even Braun Breaker was like a fullback in the NFL. Undrafted, he tried to be. I don't think he made it on the team, but he was in that level where he was trying out for the NFL as a fullback. So yeah, you could definitely take some people down. Especially you could see that when he wrestles, he's so athletic and big.
Yeah, he's so fast and agile at that size. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes you remember what great athletes there are in professional sports. Like there are guys in the NFL that they're all Braun Breaker size and they all move like that.
Right.
So yeah, fantastic athletes there. I like it. Good lighthearted way to finish up Cheap Heat. As always, it is unseasonably warm. It is pathologically frugal. John, what is it?
Dom, it is cheap heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Cheap Heat. And that's our second to last segment. But we're going to wind on down to the Italian goodbye. The Italian goodbye is where we typically say goodbye and we drop off. We drag it out a little bit here, we work the watch hours. We hang out. If people are on, we're going to keep talking.
Sure. Tell us in the chat, did we miss anything that you wanted us to talk about? Do you not like some of our takes on the wrestling program? Let us know if you're still live there in the chat. We love hearing from people as we are live streaming.
And let me tell you something, Dom. I have the third man in the booth is making some noise, so give me just a sec here.
Sure. Oh, third man in the booth. We love the third man in the booth. So WWE recently has gone away from those 3-man booths. Was it? I'm trying to remember his name. Who was on this SmackDown here? Was it Vic Joseph, who was filling in for Joe Tessitore alongside Wade Barrett there? He was a decent play-by-play guy. Joe Tessitore is growing on me. His real sports background there as a broadcaster, I'm liking it. I like it. I like when guys give sort of a real sports feel to what they're doing at the announce booth, at the announce table there. So I've been impressed by Joe Tessitore. Corey Graves, somewhat getting a demotion. I think it was down to NXT, but that doesn't mean he's bad at his job. It just means that, Pat McAfee has more followers on social media. And so they wanted Pat McAfee to be somewhere. WWE for the most part has some really good people in the booth. Vic Joseph, I don't know what his relationship was with the company, but he wasn't terrible. Gave us some good calls. Got into it with Wade Barrett, which we like. I mean, if Wade Barrett wants that kind of a little bit of tension there, then you got to be able to give it to him when he's when you're paired up with him. So like all of that we got. 3-hour show. I'm getting used to SmackDown as a 3-hour show now. I've been impressed. I think I gave them thumbs up consistently until this week that even though they went to 3 hours, I was impressed by them keeping up the quality of the show. This was the first show where it looked like they were dragging things out a little bit, and where it just wasn't that crisp of a show. And I know it's tougher at 3 hours. Seth Rollins has talked about this, that when he was on Raw for years and it was a 3-hour show, it was a little bit long. Like maybe the 2 to 2.5 hours, the sweet spot. So yeah, I'm talking about announced combinations, the broadcaster combinations, and how good a job they do, especially with some of these longer shows like SmackDown being 3 hours. But fun stuff. How's the third man in the booth? How's he doing?
The third man in the booth is awake and well.
Good.
He is been a little opinionated.
Okay.
As all people that are around 1 to 2 years old have a tendency to be. But
There you go.
he was happy. He was laughing and smiling when he woke up today, which is a good sign for my
Yes.
next 3-4 hours until he goes down for his long nighttime sleep.
There you go. So the thumb drive, the third man in the booth gave a thumbs up to the nap.
He gave a thumbs up. Yeah.
Thumbs up for the nap.
But he gives significantly more thumbs down than we do about SmackDown.
Okay.
And I do agree kind of a little bit with your assessment. I caught the end of it, Dom, with the 3-hour show. I was really concerned that it was not going to work. I thought we were going to be given a lot more thumbs down than we have. But it's been good so far. I do have to say, you could feel the 3 hours this episode, right? You can really feel that it was a little much.
Yep.
End of the
It
day,
happens.
right? It's not perfect. Nothing ever is, but it wasn't a terrible show. But then it's also skippable. So we're gonna have the go home show next week. Then we're gonna head into Elimination Chamber, which is a fun pay-per-view, right?
Yes, it's the gimmicks that have stood the test of time basically have done so because they work. Royal Rumble, obviously, Money in the Bank ladder match, obviously, those work. The War Games seems to work now that they've resurrected it, and Elimination Chamber seems to work as well.
War Games is pretty good.
Yeah,
I have to say, War Games, with the way that they enter the cage and the different things that they do with the bloodline, it's like perfect for the bloodline.
Yes,
because you have the big group that all seem to hate each other and turn on each other and be with each other, and then their family and all this stuff. Having them go one-on-one has been good. Looking forward to the Elimination Chamber. Curious, have you heard about this AEW show that happened on Saturday, which I haven't watched, but have you heard anything about it?
I have not. That would have been a couple of days ago, as we are live streaming on Monday here. You're talking about Saturday the 15th. Fill me in.
So they did the NBA All-Star Weekend. They did the dunk contest, which usually people watch the dunk contest or into that. After the dunk contest, they go directly live into a show from Australia, an AEW show. They did a Collision from Australia that they've kind of built up like a mini pay-per-view.
Oh, this was over on TNT?
Yeah, on TNT. So I'm curious to see how that did from a ratings perspective. Was it a good match? How was the Australian crowd? But yeah, they did it pretty big this year. I think they used to do a show in New York in September. What is the tennis stadium in New York?
Arthur Ashe Stadium?
Yeah, Arthur Ashe.
The US Open, yeah.
Yeah. So they would do the Arthur Ashe Stadium every year. I think this year they're skipping the Arthur Ashe, and instead this is like the same type of pay-per-view as the Arthur Ashe, where they're going to do somewhere unique.
Okay.
So, the Arthur Ashe show, it might have just been too expensive. Who knows? Or they weren't really able to sell it out. I'm not sure what the deal was, but they're moving away from the Arthur Ashe show. I think they're trying to give. I think but they always did shows in the same places every year, and they're realizing that like they need to change it up a little bit. Like their London show every year is now going to be in Texas this year, all in.
Yes.
So interested to see what that's about.
Yeah, if you're a global brand or at least a national brand, yeah, I mean you have your favorite places, but I mean WWE doesn't hold WrestleMania in the same place every year.
Yeah,
they don't hold Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank. They run the circuit.
WWE, as of late, has really run the circuit because they have been all over the world, and all the shows all over the world have been like crazy over, sometimes too over for our liking.
Right?
Yeah.
So their big show coming up in Toronto in 2 weeks, a couple of Saturdays from now. So we'll have that. That'll be a fun one. I have some news. Why not? I'll spill it during the Italian goodbye. Because of when they are holding WrestleMania, they made it Easter weekend.
Oh wow! Really?
Yes, it's the 19th and 20th, right?
That's crazy.
I will completely miss night one of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like no shot. And now that they're on Netflix, we ran into this with the Royal Rumble. I don't think replays are available on Peacock, nor is it even available where same night, if you're just tuned in late, you can start watching it from the beginning. Have they transferred all of their archive premium live events to Netflix already? So
that's a good question.
Like if you don't have Netflix, you can't even watch the premium live event on Peacock with your Peacock subscription unless you're watching live.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that's concerned, that's really dumb. If they don't, that must be a technical bug. That can't even be a intended thing where you can't watch it on Peacock. Like usually they should have it uploaded and ready to go, and you just watch it whenever. It already happened.
Yes.
And half the thing is all over Twitter/X anyway. All the highlights, all the fan footage. I wonder if it'll be on Daily Motion. If you could just go right on Daily Motion,
right?
That's what we've come to. Because we would pay. I would pay to watch SmackDown, and then it's just too hard to pay. So you just
you can't even watch live, even if you pay. They make you watch the next day on Hulu.
They make you watch way later on Hulu.
It's like, yeah, well then, how is this premium?
They're just overthinking it, I think, with the money they can get. But anyways, Dom, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a very opinionated 1.5, 2-year-old up. Usually, I would take the Italian goodbye to unreasonable lengths today.
There you go.
But before we drop off, I just want to thank you for all your help with the channel. It's been really helpful, and it's been a great run, and we're monetized now, which is really exciting. I don't even know, and we've got the fireball up in
Baby,
here.
we're a fireball. We made it.
Yeah, I got a little bit of my coffee here, so I'm getting the double whammy of caffeine. Just a little bit, because I've had a fair amount of booze this weekend with the parade. I went pretty hard, and the Super Bowl in general. That was a big party for me. So, yes.
I did see some of your karaoke there.
Yes.
During halftime.
Oh, that video got taken down by YouTube's unreal. I took the live video, and when we did the live video, it flagged Elton John, Philadelphia Freedom.
Oh.
And I was applying for monetization. So I said, let me just take it down and delete it, and then I'll upload it again. So I downloaded it, and then I deleted it. So I'll have to re-upload it. But they didn't copyright strike, but they content ID'd, and I'm like, I don't want anything to get messed up when I apply for monetization. Yes. I clicked apply, and it was like, you're in. Cool.
I
was
hope
like,
none of my jokes about giving booze to trick-or-treaters gets us demonetized. That would be strangely ironic.
no, that would be hilarious if they're like,
Right?
are you giving children booze? No, that was an amazing one, and
Technically, no, because I just leave them in the bucket on the porch with the sign that says only one fireball per child.
only one, which
Yes.
I think is good for an 8-year-old.
I mean, if they can read, then it shouldn't be too bad. They should just get one kid-sized whiskey per child. It's the fun size,
Amazing joke, Dom. I foresee a short in the future as well.
All right. Well, hey, my best to everybody there at your lovely abode, including the third man in the booth who perhaps needs you at the moment. It's been real. Onward and upward, my friend. Don't bury the lead.
Thank you, Dom. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all that helped us with the monetization piece, and thanks for people hung on the chat today. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your